There are trees, there's snow, and I'm lost. It doesn't matter how I got here. All that matters is survival. So I slowly press on through the eerie silence of the forest, doing my best to shut out the cold in my mind. No one's gonna save me but myself. My eyes are fixed on the frigid white desert in front of my feet when a shadow flits across my vision, nearly making me stumble. I look up. Could this be a reason to hope? A distant airplane or a rescue helicopter? No. No, it's just another raven. It joins the others, who have already gathered. All of them staring down at me from the surrounding tree limbs. They're watching in complete silence, as if captivated by the drama of my situation. This is their secret theater, and their favorite new actors giving a spellbinding performance. I lower my head, blow on my fingers, then lift one weary foot to take a step, and then another, and another, and another, until the process of moving forward on numbed feet becomes automatic, and my mind starts to wander. Smart birds, ravens. I remember someone once telling me that they have another name. What was it again? Wolf birds, wasn't it? Yeah. Yes, I think that's right. Wolf birds, because of the way they sometimes track wolves. Ravens will patiently follow along from above and swoop down after the wolves make their kill, eager to share the carcass. And suddenly, my thoughts are interrupted as the ravens take to the air in a flurry of black wings and snow, as if they've all come to silent agreement. This particular drama has become boring. Once more I pause, wondering if they found something more interesting to watch. But no. They just keep circling overhead as I stare up at them. Soon, however, I hear growls. Growls that are very close and coming closer. In this moment, it dawns on me that if ravens are such smart birds, they might not always be satisfied with following along behind the wolves. Sometimes, they might let the wolves know what they want to eat. I bought a house across the street over the summer. And now that the leaves have started to fall, I have a clear view of the graveyard from my living room window. A week and a half ago, I saw something tall and white moving along the headstones. Something that glowed with dim light, even when it was pitch black out. I told Denise, who said, and I quote, "Well, that's pretty fucking cool." We started staying up late to see if it would come back. Thursday night, it did. Through the binoculars, I could see it was shaped more or less like an upside-down tree. It didn't have feet, but rather hundreds of small tendrils that shuffled it through the rows of headstones. Its body was erect and unremarkable, save for an opening at the top where different, longer tendrils hung. It moved silently and ceasingly for almost 20 minutes before disappearing into thin air. When I got to work on Friday, I told a couple guys about it, and they said I was full of shit, so I invited them over to see it for themselves. Dan was the only one who took me up on my offer, so I told him to come for dinner. We would eat and wait for the thing to show up. Around 1 a.m. on Saturday morning, it came back, and Dan was speechless. He took out his phone and started recording. I told him there was no point. It hadn't shown up on anything Denise and I had tried to record with, but he insisted on trying anyway. We were out on the front porch, so the thing was about 100 feet away, maybe more. Dan wasn't having much luck getting it in focus. So we crossed the street and stood on the edge of the cemetery property. "I wouldn't go near it, Dan," Denise advised. Part of me agreed with her, but another part wanted to join him to get a better look. "It's cool," Dan replied over his shoulder. He kept walking in its direction. I stayed on the porch with Denise and watched Dan get closer. "Can you hear that? It sounds like it's singing or something." Neither of us could hear what Dan heard, but I was growing increasingly uneasy at his cavalier attitude in the face of something completely unknown. Before any of us could react, one of the tendrils from the top of the creature shot across the cemetery and whipped Dan in the face. I stumbled and fell back. Denise gasped, and I started to run towards my friend. The thing evaporated. I reached Dan, who had already gotten up. He looked no worse for wear. As we headed back for the house, Dan began to limp. He started to complain about a weird feeling in his feet. I helped him across the street and back into the house. He immediately took off his shoes and started to rub his heels and arches and toes. It was obvious he was in pain. Without warning, with a series of sickening wet cracks, Dan's feet split in half, and Denise screamed. And they split again and again. Denise fumbled with her phone to call 911, and I just watched, horrified, as Dan's feet continued to bifurcate, until there was nothing left but bleeding tendrils that jerked and twitched, flinging blood across the living room. Dan passed out, and as further bifurcations turned his feet into noodle-thin, then hair-thin filaments. I heard an ambulance approaching. We live only a quarter mile away from the hospital. The filaments nodded and unknotted. As the EMTs entered the house, they gazed, wide-eyed, at Dan's injuries. As they loaded him onto the gurney and began exiting the house, 2 cracks like gunshots rang out, making everyone jump. His shins, knees, and femurs had split. Blood poured down the sides of the gurney and cascaded down our front steps. Denise and I heard more cracks after the ambulance doors had closed. Then, with sirens blaring, they were gone. Dan died not long after. I attended his funeral this morning. There's no explanation for what happened to him. The news report on his death simply called it an accident. I want to come forward to tell the police what was going on in the cemetery, but the thing hasn't shown up at all since that night. If anyone else lives in Norwalk and can claim they've seen something like what I've described, please do so. Dan didn't deserve what happened to him. Denise painted a picture of what it looked like. She got it exactly right. Today is my turn at the bottom of the well. I stand up slowly, stiffly, bracing myself against the dark, slippery walls. I know what has happened. I know what is going to happen. I look up, and there she is, gripping the bricks at the top, staring down at me. She always stares, implacably, inhumanly. She does nothing to help me. She stares and stares as I yell, try to gain a foothold on the walls. I call her name. She does not respond as I slowly descend to stupor in the dank water at the bottom of the well. She stares. Her gaze does not falter as I feel the agony of flesh slowly retreating from my bones and starve to death. Now I am at the top of the well. I look down, and there she is again, standing still, touching the slippery walls, staring up at me, implacably, inhumanly. So I call for help. I yell until my voice is hoarse. I try to do what I didn't do before. I try to make amends. I look for anything I can to throw down to help her. A rope, some food. Sometimes I find things, but they don't help. For as I throw them down, she doesn't see them. She refuses all rescue. And as she does so, I realize there will be no escape. And now it's my turn at the bottom of the well.